What's up, guys? Welcome. How are you guys doing? Welcome to another live stream. It's been a while. Almost 1 month since I did the last one. I've been on holidays, so that's why I've skipped the last three live streams. So there you go. I'm back. Let's take a look at what the market is doing, and of course what we are expecting from the market for next week. The dollar, just before I start, usually, so if you are new, this is a session where we are going to go through different assets, making the prediction for next week. Usually we start with dollar index. We are going to look at some FX pairs, indices, commodities, mostly gold and oil, and a little bit of Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's a little bit of how it goes. Feel free to share any levels that you are looking for. This is kind of to discuss any levels that you think that maybe price can react from next week, and maybe look for opportunities together. So welcome. Yeah, let's get started in here. And as usually we start with dollar index. So looking at the weekly time frame, there you go. I don't know if this is a record or not, but dollar index has printed 8 consecutive weeks, bullish weeks in here. Bullish candles. I mean 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right. So let's see until where this is going to actually to 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know when was the last time that we printed basically 8 bullish candles in a row on dollar index. That looks like that's basically 2 months always moving up. Of course, there are fluctuations in between those candles. Some days maybe negative. However, in a weekly basis, that's kind of where we are. Question mark then is, where are we going to? Like, where are we heading to with this dollar index? And should we start expecting a little bit of some retracements, or is it going to just continue to move to the upside? That's a little bit of the question mark in here. To be honest, this one could go all the way until these two. Yeah, so that's a little bit of the question mark. We start having a little bit of weakness, but price still carry on going higher, and this is maybe because price actually, or the dollar may actually wants to go above this level, same way that eventually the euro wants maybe to go below those lows, which is kind of correspond to this highs, to be honest. So yeah, that's maybe something that the dollar wants to go to. We already kind of broke this highs, already kind of broke a little bit of this level of structure, so eventually we may be looking at the dollar to take all these highs out, and maybe starting to get closer to this level in here, even before having maybe some kind of retracement, a proper retracement to the downside. Yes, there's maybe still something in here, and to be honest, I wouldn't just invalidate completely these highs in here. That may be still something that price can go and react from. We kind of have also kind of a little bit of still this level, which just by looking at this daily time frame, it does look something in there. Does look something that it may have price may react from there. Just checking on the lower time frame. Yeah, to be honest, it's maybe one of the last levels that price could go somewhere in here. There's maybe this accumulation of highs that price never reacted from. Therefore, maybe aside from that, everything looks like has been touched already in here. So I wouldn't actually, eventually, bigger time frame or higher time frame, I wouldn't be surprised if the dollar actually takes out this structure and starts going towards to the next zone, somewhere in there. And even in the bigger picture, maybe actually price can just take all of this compression, getting closer to this range in here that was left behind, and that's maybe where price may have the next big push down, is maybe eventually when the dollar gets there. Nevertheless, that may take a little bit of time, and And yes, I think we are kind of starting to be due a potential retracement in here. So that's kind of what eventually next week, what I'll be looking for in here. It was interesting, the move from this week. Like, this was already kind of last day or beginning of September, last day of August. That's something just to keep an eye on for the future. Meanwhile, price kind of just carry on to the upside, and we did manage to break this high, and that kind of is working as a level of now resistance becoming kind of support, which we also had this demand zone in here that was left behind in here. And when I mean behind, is this will never really touch it in there. So even with this attempt to go down yesterday, apparently price just again still found or managed to find some kind of structure in here to push price, or at least kind of still to manage to bring price up and not really to downside. However, there are some strong moves down, and these levels being taken already, then eventually when price turns, it's a little bit free or easier for price to then kind of break through it and kind of starting going towards a little bit more these levels in here. So that's just something to keep an eye on. Eventually when the dollar turns, these levels kind of are weaker by now. In that moment, price then can turn. Yeah, that was a nice reaction. That was something that we are actually looking for. This was last Thursday when price finally turned a little bit, faking out that high. There was a little bit of a zone in there that looked nice. So we'll see how price is going to open on Monday in here. Is there anything still at the top? Maybe there is still actually something at the highs that price can react from, but based on where actually price reacted from the lows without really managing to break this structure, kind of expecting new highs, maybe for actually having the turn to the downside, or kind of a little bit of a bigger retracement on the dollar to the downside. Breaking above this structure, then kind of we can start looking for the next one, and maybe a little bit in there can be a little bit of reaction, and then let's see if it's enough or not to hold price down, or price will eventually just take the highs as we mentioned in the beginning. So that's a little bit on the dollar. Again, it has been quiet, as there isn't been really much momentum, even looking at the euro as well. Yeah, maybe prices which we just slowly moving upwards. Also, this last week that just passed, there wasn't really any big news event, in particular in the US, so there was nothing really to affect the market. There was the services PMI that was slightly higher than expected, but aside from that, nothing much. Next week it's going to be different. They're going to have CPI on Wednesday, if not mistaken. So that's something that for sure the market will be looking at, which is going to be interesting to see how, of course, what the number will be, right? Because one of the main concerns now is that actually the energy costs, with oil starting to be close to 90, if that's going to start being seen or being reflected back into the CPI, and starting to notice a higher number than kind of the trajectory that we have been for the last few months, which was just moving down and down. The last month I think was already slightly higher. It was the first time it was slightly higher than the previous month. So let's see what's going to happen on Wednesday and in the next few months, with especially with oil, if it continues to move higher, getting close to 90, or if not even 100 dollars. So yeah, let's see what the central bankers are going to do about that factor. All right, so yep, dollar, that's kind of, so let's see by Wednesday, where are you going to be? Are you still going to be underneath this low, kind of not this low, this high, or are you going to be, yeah, we'll see. And based where we are going to be by Wednesday for the CPI, then we're going to try to make the right choice in there. Indices, looking at the S&P on NASDAQ Dow as well, kind of a bit similar. So yes, so we had that move to downside. So that's basically when I went on holidays, and then price started to retrace to the upside, or maybe bigger picture, actually maybe resuming the bullish trend that we have been for the last, basically since the beginning of the year. in terms of this, of the levels that you're looking for, the price, this was kind of, it reached the target, right? So we've been looking for that move to the downside, and price reached the target. So that was kind of job done, kind of. And since then, price has been moving higher. Now, this low, I don't really, I'm not sure, but I don't think it actually broke anything in here. So that's a little bit of a question mark, because there's no break of that low. I would actually prefer to see slightly this low being broken. For example, on NASDAQ, I think it did. Just in terms of future reference of what we can expect eventually when price may get closer to these highs. So far, I kind of price kind of respected slightly that high in here. I would like to see price actually going slightly higher before a major or like a kind of continuation to the downside, even closing a little bit of this gap that was created when there was this that revision of the rates from AAA to AA, if not mistaken. So I would like actually price to go there. I think this is maybe just a small retracement to now maybe continue to be and moving to the upside. We'll see. Nevertheless, for this week, price reached this target as well. When you start having this move to downside, breaking these lows, it reached the price that was in there. So that's job done as well. Yeah, it may go a little bit lower, it may even go somewhere in there. Let's see. But for now, this may be a good level to see price kind of resuming the move to the upside. So let's see if that's going to happen, and if eventually price may get there, which then could start looking for new sales. To be honest, bigger picture, I still wouldn't ignore the fact that maybe price could even go above this high into this level before a major turn in here. But so far, where price reacted from, as we covered in one of the last webinars, live streams, it was already a really good level, same as on NASDAQ. So that's kind of what we have. We actually noticed that S&P was leading in regards to NASDAQ this week. So basically it filled this place quicker than NASDAQ. I think it was this one kind of, it was already on Wednesday, and NASDAQ only on Thursday. That's when it filled the space, and kind of yesterday we start having a little bit of a move in here to the opposite side. So that's kind of S&P, NASDAQ, what you have in here. NASDAQ is actually interesting. It looks like that price may have still a little bit of space towards to the next structure, and that may be the case. However, in the lower time frame, and this is kind of just a tip, right? It's important to notice as well, the next level is created just after the break of the level, because maybe price doesn't really need to go all the way into here. It maybe just needs to actually touch the other zone that actually already moved away from here. You can see that on the lower time frame. Not sure if, yeah, there you go, right? So we actually have the zone in here. Price kind of break above it, respected it, so it already kind of took the orders from the retest of this high. And of course, maybe there's something a little bit more inside here, but so far price kind of took the orders from in here and now created this next structure, and that's actually where price has been reactive from. It's in there. It doesn't really need to come here again, it's just there, and that's a valid level to look for price to react from precisely to the pip in there. Okay, so after that, NASDAQ corrected a little bit again. Is this a high? Is this kind of a good top for price maybe to resume the move to downside, or should we be looking even for price to maybe go a little bit higher, getting in there, or finally maybe take this level and getting a little bit more closer to here, reaching to the extreme before a move to downside? That's a good question mark. So let's see how price actually is going to move away from here. This was a nice potential sell that occurred this week, after kind of starting breaking below this range, and then kind of just fill the space. So that's kind of a little bit of a good move. Bigger time frame, this was when I was away. Price actually respected this this bigger upper trend line, not just once but twice as well. In this case, we actually kind of managed to break this structure in here. NASDAQ actually got really close to the previous, not NASDAQ, S&P. S&P got really close to the high from previous August. That kind of broke it. Was an important level of resistance before, or structure at least, and kind of hold price now, not just once, but kind of twice in there. Yeah, NASDAQ way too far away from it still. So let's see what's going to happen now. Okay, I've been bearish since here, so that a lot of that move has been done, and our question mark or something that we want to pay attention to is if this is going to be just a resume now to the upside, or if that's actually going to be something in here that's going to confirm maybe this turn on the market and become proper bearish in here by breaking that wall, maybe even going further down. So yeah, CPI can be a good catalyst to see what may happen in there. Dow kind of reached some of the targets as well, kind of this level of structure, now kind of reacting from here after the correction. Yeah, is price going to go a little bit higher in here as well? Perhaps it could go. So far kind of reacting from a good zone in here as well. So it's a little bit more indecisive, a little bit more in the middle. A lot of the move to the downside that we're looking for that happened already, and now it's kind of navigating in between the zones. Yeah, so that's a little bit of the Dow Jones in here. By the way, guys, let me know if you do trade indices and what assets actually do you like to trade. Just for me to get to know as well. Euro index. So this is another one that we pay attention to. All right, it was a nice reaction from those highs. Meanwhile, kind of starting to resume to bearish again. We have been bearish again. We predicted that high a long time ago. Price reacted from it. We kind of broke a little bit. And for me, I think the bearish signs or the bearish move hasn't really finished yet. I think you could see more room to downside on the euro, and that's just something that we are going to kind of carry on looking for. This week in particular, we did have that slightly break to the downside. That was, I don't know if it was Monday or yeah, maybe Monday, but it was already last week. So that's kind of what we were looking for price to kind of react a little bit from this structure and just resume and the move down, and that's kind of what we have. And now kind of approaching this structure in here. Yes, bigger picture, I'm still expecting price to continue to move down, maybe getting a little bit more closer to these lows, if not even going much lower than that. So we'll see what this euro index is going to do. Again, there's maybe still that level at the extreme as well. So yeah, let's see. It's kind of starting to slow down a little bit. So let's see how it's going to react from that level, or more room to downside. Personally, I'm still kind of bearish in here. Question mark is from where we're looking for. These extremes in here, they're kind of a good level to look for that sell. The yen index. That's an interesting one. Like kind of continue to be under pressure, to be really weak in here, and the dollar yen to continue to navigate to the upside, getting really close to 148. Again, Bank of Japan is going to be under pressure. There was kind of a commentary over the week from someone in regards to the monetary department of Bank of Japan, something like that, talk about the exactly the FX manipulation or not, and that if they continue to see dollar yen continue to move to the upside and a weekend, they will most likely start to do something about it, which is something that we are looking for. The moves on the yen this week, they haven't really been because of the yen. If you noticed, euro yen, pound yen kind of moved to the downside quite strongly, and that's mostly because of what the euro dollar and pound dollar, for example, were doing. On the other side, we actually had dollar yen moving upwards a little bit because of what the dollar was doing, right? So it's not exactly a move in regards to the yen, and that's kind of we start noticing a little bit of these mixed moves in here. We have dollar yen moving upwards, you have euro yen, pound yen, and so on moving down, and they are kind of within this range. Eventually, it's going to be a move based on the yen, and that's when you're going to see euro yen, pound yen, dollar yen, and so on and so forth moving out in the same direction. in there. So yes, this week he did manage to respect a little bit this low, kind of taking the orders from there. He still respected or keep respecting the structure. Yes, there is this high in here that it's interesting, price which we kind of just went out the way and reacted and took start taking the orders from there. So kind of the supply levels are being taken already, getting turning these levels a little bit weaker eventually for when price is about to turn, which can eventually go all the way through, maybe even starting to aim towards there. But there's still the confirmation here, right? We still actually need to break above this level in here, and we may actually create new lows maybe before that actually happens. So again, this yen index, something to follow. I would recommend everyone to follow this pair, because there is going to be some kind of good opportunities in here, and they may be quick, maybe aggressive moves. Maybe some people getting some, for example, sells on the dollar yen to try to start position themselves as a short, because that's kind of what you're expecting also from the Bank of Japan to intervene somehow in here. So we'll see what may happen as well. Yeah, so just drinking my coffee. Yeah, so let's see. It's definitely one to look for, as we are going to look in a bit to the yen pairs, individual yen pairs. Interesting price action that occurred yesterday or Thursday. So yeah, so moving on to the to the main currency pairs, right? So that's a little bit of where I'm going to be looking at. So looking at the euro dollar, right? So that's one that we are going to be looking at. So there you go, euro dollar. It was an interesting conversation over the week. Kind of what's the target for this highs, right? So from this move to the upside from there, what are you looking for as a target? Like we had a few of the guys that kind of were thinking to look of maybe longs on money, kind of retest of this level. This is something that you need to pay attention to. Like when you're looking at this kind of, in this case, bearish moves, but kind of price just moving, eventually to feel kind of some kind of spice. It's not just because price kind of reacted from something, which is actually a good reaction from what it did. There was a fresh level in there. That's basically everything that would happen from here. This move in here, that's a really good reaction from kind of a small zone in there. This is not the final destination for this move to downside. Like when price created these lows, it didn't kind of just start from there. Kind of that wouldn't be the final destination for there. It wouldn't be kind of a waste. Nevertheless, that could mean it doesn't mean that price wouldn't have some kind of reactions on the way down, like just it did in here. Right, but if you are looking to look for a long in this particular case, try to catch the long as price is reacting from it almost immediately. Like try to find your long opportunity somewhere in here, or maybe somewhere in here before the major move. Don't really try to, at least I wouldn't really recommend to try to look for trade a double bottom on the retrace after price already made a big move and maybe reacting from something, whatever it may be. I wouldn't really recommend now looking for a double bottom in here to trade for a long when you know that there's maybe more room to downside, because again, this is just a good level in our time frame. It's not exactly the final target for these guys. I hope I make sense on what I want to mention. Like, of course, if you are too much zoomed in and this is everything you are looking for, this may make sense to look for maybe a double bottom setup in here. Maybe already faked out this level, and now you are looking maybe for something for price to go to. But if you actually zoom out, you'll notice that this is just a small reaction here, and as you can see, aside from that, everything has been kind of spiked or touched, and kind of price actually is free more to go further down in here. So yeah, that's just kind of a way to avoid avoid some kind of reversals in here. And maybe what you could do is actually carry on positioning yourself as a short to continue to look for price to eventually get a little bit more to the extreme of this level in here. Okay, so just bear in mind that situation. I think you almost can see it, like even bigger picture and so on. Like it's not really the best level, kind of anything in there. Even in here, it's kind of a big question mark. Kind of that's kind of what was the second part of the question. Is it going to be here the final target, or actually price may actually just compete with these lows and just look for the next part? Just kind of dollar index taking those highs. It will be kind of the same for the euro, actually, to kind of take these lows and start moving further down, which can even eventually take these lows as well and start looking even for something else underneath that. But maybe there's something in here. Again, we're going to be playing zone by zone, but just in terms of higher time frame, if you don't really see anything relevant in here, or if price, it looks like, has already taken everything on the way up, this turns this level quite weaker. In order to then look for this from this level in here. Now, that doesn't mean that not going to be any intraday setups. Again, it was a good reaction on Thursdays. Thursday is an interesting pattern. I'm not really sure the last 2 weeks because I was not here, but before that and this last Thursday, Thursdays are interesting days for reversals, and the reversals usually occur actually after 3 p.m. Just go back, check it around 3 p.m. That's kind of, or after 3 p.m. That's usually kind of when actually price kind of creates these bottoms in here, or if it is to turn to the opposite side, kind of it creates those highs somewhere in there. Again, it doesn't mean that it's every Thursday, but it has been kind of a pattern on Thursdays. Yeah, so looking at the euro, so something that we paid attention to, this one kind of already took it, kind of, I think there's maybe a 1 pip break to the upside in there. 7489, yeah, 7488, because it's kind of a 1 pip engulf upwards, which could eventually kind of start meaning that price may want to go higher. However, I think you can see that this level was still fresh. This is kind of one of the last supply levels that was still fresh, and actually price just literally reacted to it quite aggressively, and there you go, back at the lows. Right, so we are back at the lows on the euro. There's maybe still something in here that price could react from. However, to be honest, I think price could just carry on. This is kind of just an interesting range as price is moving down. Price created a little bit of manipulation in here. It didn't manage to break above that structure from this with this high, and maybe just going to continue to move down. After that, of course, we have the next structure. Price just wants to go there. I think eventually price could just carry on. But let's see how price is going to open on Monday. By any chance wants to respect this level and going to go higher again? Perfect. Personally, I would have preferred to see this level actually being properly broken in order to even consider any more longs in here. And that didn't really happen, so yeah, why not new lows, and then we'll see. Looking in here, everything looks spiked, to be honest. This is one of the last zones that price maybe was still fresh in there, kind of within this level. Aside from that, I think maybe price can go take this double low and perhaps going somewhere in there. But I think then it could go even more. We do have kind of this accumulation. Yeah, we'll see. I'm not the biggest fan of actually where anything in here. So yeah, I could just look at price moving further down on the euro in there. Pound, again, just continuation of resuming the move to the downside, as similar to the euro. Is there anything in here that's still going to hold price? You can see how price spiked almost every single kind of zone or demand on the way up, which kind of makes it a bit weaker now for price to actually find something in here that can hold, and for this to happen, we'll see. Maybe bigger time frame, maybe there's something in there, maybe something somewhere in here that could occur. I think I actually have a level in there on over time frame, so maybe something that I'll be looking at. Again, kind of the range in here. There was again another good setup on Thursday in the afternoon. Again, after 3 p.m, kind of when you do have kind of that level, we started to break these highs, and that's kind of what we were looking for eventually for price to feel and go at least towards there. And that was up, that happened, kind of then price kind of still navigated a bit more towards there. So this is starting to break and to show some bullishness by breaking this, by breaking some highs on the way down. Like that's something that I mentioned as well. So that's happening in here. Again, a few bearish candles in a row. I think the level I was looking for, where is it? Price is reacting from there. I think I have, for some reason, it's quite small, the level, but it's kind of somewhere in here, kind of below of this structure. Price kind of broke this. So price, I think, is reacting from here at this point. I think we can even navigate, take these lows, and maybe react from this level in here. We'll see. Again, it's not literally a super A plus zone, but it's something that could react from. Yeah, we'll see how price may react from there, or price will just ignore it. We'll see what's going to happen. It's not a bad level. I like that price. This is kind of one of the levels that I usually look for targets. Kind of price breaking lows on the way up. Kind of this level eventually becomes really attractive for target, for price to go to, and maybe just the zone just next to it usually can work quite nicely for price to bounce from in there. Aside from that, a lot of it has been kind of already touched on the way up, which makes everything in here quite weak, and maybe price then can just eventually maybe even go below this low in there. Yeah, so let's see if that's something that may happen in here. Again, another kind of structure, move down, kind of another range. Let's see if it's going to continue move down as well, or not. In here on the pound. So yeah, euro pound. This actually was one of the cleanest one. That was a really nice, interesting engulf upwards since the 13th of August. Then price kind of moved down, but it was kind of, I see it as an engulf upwards. Natural zone to look for price to kind of fill this range in here, to go below it and kind of to get to this left shoulder or a little bit more deep into here. At this point, price just reacted from that level. It literally took that low, the initial low in there. Where are we? Yep, as you can see, this is kind of where, after this big spike, that's kind of where price paused and started this compression, and price actually took this low just before it turned. Yeah, there was maybe something a little bit more underneath that euro pound could go to, but it didn't. It just respected kind of this level in here, and it started moving higher. Now this one kind of a little bit, for me, it's kind of an engulf up in there. Let's see. Price already got really close to the extreme, so even if you're looking for any longs in here, I would always advise kind of to take at least some profits from that level, with the potential to even go higher, but at least take some profits in there. It's the extreme of this first range, so just be safe in there. And let's see what's going to happen next. Is euro pound kind of going to resume, which I may think it does, and we may go a little bit higher towards the next level in here. So actually euro pound was an interesting one. Aussie dollar, again, I think it may just continue to move slightly lower. It created a lot of this range. Now it's a lot of lows accumulated in here. I think price may make another aim to go down before kind of going higher. We had an interest rate decision, stayed unchanged at 4.1%. Yeah, CAD, same thing at 5% and changed, but there you go. Nothing really, lack of reaction in here or move, even with those kind of news. Yeah, price is kind of reacting a little bit nicely from that level, but could go a little bit lower. I don't really like this this kind of range that we're getting here, or price movement before I don't see price turning from here just like that. I think kind of is missing kind of a good spike down before even aiming to go higher. It could go maybe somewhere in here and then kind of just resume the move down before maybe aiming to go a little bit higher. Again, we start having a little bit of a break of a high. That's something interesting and important to track. But let's see, because maybe the final destination is not even maybe in here. Again, final destination from this move, it may actually go all the way to here, or it should fake out this below and get into there, and after that you may go higher. And in this particular case, you can even zoom out even more and actually try to see if this low makes sense actually where it's reacting from, or should we actually expect from kind of this high or this high in here, should we actually expect eventually for price to just carry on and create new lows and get maybe closer to here, right? That's kind of bigger picture on the Aussie, what we may even look for in there. But yeah, I think a little bit more room to the downside before maybe turning upwards. Euro Aussie, for example, this is something I'm looking for in here. I would prefer to see price kind of going a little bit higher before kind of moving, before maybe moving down again. We've been in this bullish momentum, and maybe even bigger picture price wants to go a little bit higher. We'll see. Yeah, I would literally prefer to see maybe price going higher, maybe it's somewhere in here or a little bit more before maybe continuation. We'll see. I think there's maybe still something to look for in there. If price kind of starts moving a little bit more closer to this level, maybe then we can have that continuation upwards in there. So let's take a look at the end pairs, right? So this is something that we have been looking at. Yeah, so dollar yen, again, we are getting closer to that one, basically 148. It's kind of where we are aiming to, kind of reacting a little bit from this level. It was not a bad level where actually price has been reacting this week. On the other side, you start having a little bit of liquidity being created in here, and this break of a low that happened last, no, the 1st of September with the NFP. That's something interesting to track and to follow, because this most likely can work as a target for the future. Kind of can give you the reference that whenever price actually properly returns, this could be your target. Okay. Meanwhile, doesn't mean that it will just do like that, because there's maybe some previous level of support resistance or maybe demand zones that still need to be taken before actually price aims to get to that level. So for example, that's what happened with this spike in here yesterday, right? We kind of spiked into there, nice level, previous level in here as well, and there you go. These orders have been deleted right now. Again, I got another strong sell order being twice in here, another one in there. So I started to notice some sell orders being in twice. This level in here is actually looking at the weekly all the way from 1998 or 1997. That's kind of an interesting left shoulder that could work a little bit. It's maybe a level that we can maybe relevant to keep an eye on. This can help you maybe to eventually find some kind of opportunities. And you've seen actually already this week our price kind of bounced in between exactly that level quite a few times. Again, new highs kind of expected. And let's take a look at on the left side where we are. So we are kind of in here, right? So kind of reacted a little bit from this level. These highs have reacted from it, and that's kind of where we are. Eventually maybe price actually can go all the way and go a bit higher. One of the first levels I have as well is kind of maybe this one on 48.5. But let's see if there's still going to be anything inside this week that price can go and react from. Basically price already kind of reacted from here. Yep, let's see. Price may actually take this week altogether, and then kind of after that it may turn. So let's see what may happen. Again, this is kind of a level that I have in mind. It looks like that price, for some reason, this highs never reacted from it, so it makes it a really interesting level to look for in the future. In this case, the future it's almost here. Yep, it looks like it could be an interesting one. And then of course eventually price could even take all these levels and go above this high and kind of react from something in there, and maybe that will be the bigger turn on the dollar yen. But yeah, maybe for now, before that, that's one of my favorite structures to look for. Again, compression, price starting to show some weakness in here, but still with cautious for any sales, or kind of manage your expectations in terms of this kind of a target, right? When it happens, it happens. We'll see when that's going to be in here. So definitely dollar yen is something that I'm going to be looking for. Again, as you can see, dollar yen is creating new highs and kind of moving upwards. If you look at euro yen, for example, and pound yen, we actually have been kind of moving down, and yesterday we finally kind of moved upwards. Interesting enough is kind of this week, right? So on the euro yen, it actually respected the lows, kind of slight. We took this low, if not mistaken, but never we managed to take that one. On the pound yen, as you've seen a bit, we actually broke an interesting level of structure that can actually open door to go even farther down. Euro yen, again, we are reacting from somewhere back in 1998. That's kind of where this high is reacting from, and we start having this interesting structure in here, right? So that's definitely something to keep an eye on, to look for a potential sell opportunity from that level of structure in here, or kind of even take this high and a little bit more from here, right? So that's definitely something to look for on the euro yen. I think that can be, yep, that's enough liquidity already created in here. Yes, I would prefer to actually have seen this low being taken. It was not. So yeah, we'll see what's going to happen with that kind of approach. Yeah, finally maybe take this highs, maybe retrace a little bit, and then kind of just carry on moving. Again, I would prefer to seek some kind of approach in compression, maybe price showing some weakness, and eventually kind of having that natural turn in here, something like that. We may have first this level in here for price to kind of react from, and then maybe we can have that final zone just above it for price maybe to spike to and go, or price may just kind of react maybe from something underneath that and then kind of react from something inside there. So just something to keep an eye on. Yeah, it looks like that this spike in here already kind of reacted from the edge of that one. Interesting. So let's see on the euro yen again, potential levels in there to look for. Yeah, then pound yen, it's the one that I was mentioning, right? Interesting, it was the structure that managed to hold price for quite a while, and with this spike we finally managed to break below that. Yeah, even kind of reacted a little bit in here. So let's see. Again, pound yen, it may still even go a little bit higher. I think I kind of like still also something at the extreme, just in case price by any chance wants to get there before maybe moving down. Again, where price reacted from in here, it's actually an interesting level. Like, it's kind of a zone that was kind of fresh without these lows in there. Nevertheless, bigger picture, this is kind of seen as an engulf down. Now, one of the question marks with the pound yen is actually where is it reacting from on the left side. We kind of slightly took this high in here, so that makes it a little bit better, and kind of reacting a little bit more from something inside there. Right, and now question mark is this enough, or price wants to go a little bit higher, or eventually even take this high before that massive and major maybe turn on the pound yen. So that's a little bit of the question. Okay, even though kind of we managed to slightly break below this low, which may be just a reaction towards there, and even if there is maybe something here at this highs, there's maybe still the tendency to go and create another high from this range before even maybe making any bigger move in here to the downside. Okay, so pay attention where actually price may go or react to in here within the structure, or even slightly higher in there. So carry on doing always that analysis, not just what you see in here, but also what may still actually price reacting to on the left side, and if this level is already reacting from that good level or not. If not, there's a chance always for price maybe to make another bigger another fake out, another move upwards before maybe moving down. Nevertheless, price is starting to get into interesting levels, behaving in an interesting way, either with ranges or breaking some lows and so on, that eventually can lead for a potential big reversal in here. Okay, so that's something to keep an eye on the yen pairs. We have dollar CAD, interesting as well, kind of carry on moving to the upside. We finally managed to break this structure, these highs in here. That was something that we were looking for, and actually to even maybe take this high, which didn't happen. Price actually respected this high almost to the pip. And what we could have seen also on the dollar CAD, like this actually was a move during the interest rate decision. We started to notice some breaks of lows again, so that's something that we always like to see, as I mentioned, and it started to happen slightly in here as well. And then react from there, carry on, break highs, we start having that break of a low in there, kind of some break of structure, and eventually that could originate and V2 to sell yesterday with the unemployment kind of prices moved down. Yeah, is this maybe just a small retracement before continue to go higher? Perhaps. Let's see how price kind of reacts within this level. If price kind of breaks below it, then we may start aiming towards here, maybe before a continuation. So that's just something to keep an eye on. Yeah, overall we may still actually continue to go higher or getting a little bit more closer to there before maybe any turn on the cut. Yeah, we'll see, right? But looks like more of a kind of a middle range kind of a move, which, yeah, one of those structures that before continue to go higher. Nevertheless, yes, intraday there was maybe something in there to look for. Bigger picture, there's maybe still more room to the upside. Dollar franc Swiss, it's another one similar to the dollar index, kind of printing 8 consecutive bullish candles. This one in particular being quite strong, almost closing at the highs. Yeah, we're getting closer to this structure. What you could see also is that basically it took 7-8 weeks to just fill one bearish candle in here, right? So even though it's bullish, it's bullish, but it's in a weak way bullish. We are getting, so there you go, we are at this structure. I was actually looking for price to fake out that high and then kind of move down. This is next structure in here. So let's see, eventually following dollar index, if it's about to have a little bit of a retracement, dollar franc Swiss is going to follow as well, which let's see what's going to happen in there. If it's going to be somewhere in here, or eventually maybe take out this size and start looking a little bit higher for the next structure. But yeah, I think we may be closer to have a proper deeper retracement in here as well. So that's just something to keep an eye on dollar franc Swiss. Gold, quite similar to the euro and so on, kind of almost aiming and attempting to go higher, now all of a sudden kind of getting down. Again, this is something that we paid attention to. With the news, we kind of break that high, so we are looking for price to go maybe slightly higher than that, and we start actually looking for potential longs. Nice reaction from this demand zone, and there you go. Apparently price just went all the way to now react from that structure. Apparently this high kind of missed that level, and now this one is reacting from it. Interesting. Just making sure that price actually reacts from the levels and doesn't leave anything behind. Bigger picture, we may just continue to move down. Right, so we kind of literally turned in here. This was a nice move with a good target, reacted from there, and let's see if we now kind of continue move down before maybe turning. This may look like at this point kind of just a middle range created in here before just continue to move to the now downside, and this maybe was enough liquidity in there for price to do just that. Question mark is kind of what's next. Is it going to be something in here, or kind of price will eventually go below that zone in there? Yep, so that's a little bit of gold, kind of just a little bit more of a continuation in there. Yep, so let's see what may happen. We have oil just continues, and maybe a little bit more pressure to the upside. Yes, just reacting literally from the extreme in here, 88.16, with the chance to continue to move higher. It continues to break highs. Just in terms of continuation, I think this level in here above this high, kind of around 90.5 or kind of 90.6 maybe, could be an interesting level eventually for price to retrace. In here, a lot of things have been kind of compressed. This is kind of where price is reacting from now. Kind of a little bit of compression in here, and yeah, maybe price could go a little bit more towards there, maybe as a final destination. We'll see. Price is finally kind of starting to slow down a little bit after this momentum to the upside. Again, oil quite bullish as well, printing day after day being quite strong in here. So let's see if this is kind of some structure that price eventually could turn, in particular if price gets closer to that level. Again, these high prices on oil, let's see what kind of impact it may have. It's going to have in the future inflation reports. yeah, that's basically it in terms of oil. So actually looking for crypto, which is interesting. So it keeps respecting these lows, like, so kind of, it's, I don't remember when I went. Yeah, price kind of filled the range. They were looking for those lows, kind of, that's done. Already spike up, kind of now it's behaving around this level, right? It reacted really nice from that zone, and now kind of it is where it is. Let's go. We had a little bit of a spike in here. Just bring that one there. We actually managed to break slightly that high, like it was a little bit similar on Ethereum and Bitcoin as well, which may be lead for price to get towards maybe to the next level, maybe somewhere closer to that next structure, somewhere in there. All right, so let's see how price actually is going to move away from here. My biggest question mark in here, or what I want to see, is if price actually starts to turn bullish and respecting this low, that for me is going to turn quite bullish. Okay, price management starts actually kind of going higher in here and kind of gets there without breaking this low. Yeah, I think I'll be looking for new highs as a consequence of that. If by any chance we do manage to break kind of below this low and then you have kind of a deep retracement, something like that, I would be okay looking for sells kind of still within that level. So whatever now happens actually around this low, bigger picture, if you break it, one thing, if you kind of keep respecting and start moving higher, I think I'll give it a more bullish sign in there. That's kind of where I am at this point. I was looking for that move to downside during all this movement. Price made that move and we are here now. So kind of at least the first target for this level that was reached took a few weeks, quite a few weeks to happen, but it did happen. So that's done. Is this the final destination? Did this already kind of broke something here perhaps, and bigger picture maybe actually looking for even farther down, but I need price to break that level for that to be supported. Otherwise I'll start shifting and start respecting the clues that price is giving and start positioning differently in here, which goes in alignment with Bitcoin. Same story, kind of went all the way to respected that level. I've been kind of bearish, as you know, all the way. And there you go, kind of slightly took that high as well, kind of respected a little bit. So let's see, same story, same conversation. The way price is going to move away from this level, is going to respect these lows or not. Again, if it does and starts moving higher, especially if it gets closer to that zone again, I think eventually this can happen, and we can actually use this level as opposite and kind of as a long in here. If by any chance this kind of breaks below it, especially even taking this level again, we can actually have maybe a deep retracement after that, and I'll still kind of maybe look for more bearish moves. Yeah, we may not even have such a deep retracement at this point, even if you start continuing to move down. It just may just go. Let's see. But yeah, that's kind of the conversation. That's bigger picture. Lower time frame, yes, we did manage to slightly break that level. Price may want to go towards there, so we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what's going to happen there. Ethereum, it was actually kind of the first one to break above this level, and then kind of still within here. So that's again what we have. In here, Ethereum kind of actually managed to break below that low. So while crypto, Bitcoin is still kind of respecting that level, Ethereum which already crushed it and broke it, and it's kind of reacting from the next zone in here. Yes, bigger picture, I'm still kind of, if I had to bet, yeah, maybe more room to downside, but I trade zone by zone, so that's kind of what I try to look for. Yeah, so Ethereum maybe a bit more, but even though kind of this is a good level, I wouldn't ignore it, and then it maybe is a continuation, then we can start looking farther and farther down in here. So let's see, in terms of best potential levels, maybe to look for the short, yeah, maybe price gets closer to this level, or by any chance if we even fake out this high one more time and gets closer in here, there's maybe that potential zone. Again, similar to Bitcoin, and Ethereum also kind of left at levels at the highs. Price from here never reacted from it, so yeah, those levels are still quite valid in there. Solana, more of the same as well, kind of managed to break that level. Solana, we've been calling also that move all the way. Even before this spike occurred, we mentioned that it's not just because price is going to break this level that we should be turning bullish. In reality, this is the key level, at least for me, that needed to be broken to the upside to completely turn bullish in here. This is just this high in price respecting this level. By breaking this one, it's a natural move. Price actually could continue literally to move down, and let's see eventually how it's going to react from here. I think that will be a potential natural move on Ethereum. Again, there's maybe this level in here in particular that's maybe still fresh, maybe below this low. I think that's maybe a good target for Ethereum to aim to. Again, could go higher again, can even fake out this maybe triple top and just move down after that. Could be below that level. Let's see how it's going to react from here, in here. And then it may just continue to move down, use that level as a sell, and then maybe just continue to move down and down and down and start getting closer to that zone. Yeah, we'll see what may happen. Now that I'm looking at it, yes, it looks like that maybe this level could work as a target for price to go to, and then we'll see. Yeah, we'll see there. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. I think actually that's it, guys. Yeah, it has been a while. Just a quick update. Again, market has been quite slowy. There was some kind of news on the last week of August. Last week, again, it was super quiet. Market maybe just adjusting, position itself to for the upcoming news that are coming. CPI, for example, we're going to have ECB. I didn't really mention, but we're going to have ECB on Thursday, which is quite interesting because the last ECB meetings, they have been the day after the FOMC, and finally this week is not going to be like that, right? It's going to be, there's ECB first, and FOMC actually is going to be just one week after that. So that may originate a different kind of move, because there was high expectation of what the movements during the FOMC would be, and then kind of ECB to be kind of as a kind of a reaction and kind of a second day move of big news. In this case, we are going to have actually CPI first, and then the ECB in here. Yeah, so yeah, expect volatility, especially starting on Wednesday with the CPI, and then ECB on Thursday. Yeah, so yeah, expect back to the news, back to volatility in the market, and hopefully we're going to start getting some momentum in here. In particular, yeah, the dollar, seeking how price may react still maybe from these highs, or take the highs completely, maybe move down after that, or yeah, it's going to be interesting. Indices as well, and so on and so forth. So thank you very much, guys, for taking time. Again, if you are new, you can subscribe, like also, and yeah, I'll see you next week. Thank you very much, guys. Bye bye. Obrigado.